Let's get scratching.
Hey guys, this is another episode of the Get a Life podcast here at One Up Games. I'm Nick, this is
Tim.
And today we're going to be talking about what?
Well, the topic was supposed to be the top 5 most influential video games of all time. I did it based on what I thought was video games that set the bar and then others copied.
Okay.
You did it based on...
I kind of did that too, but a little bit more off of personal.
Okay.
Like that made me excited to be a gamer, but also kind of interweaved, showed the respect where respect is due.
Okay.
Type of thing. So
Cool.
This was your idea for this one, so kick it off, man.
All right. Well, my number 5 is Street Fighter 2.
Okay.
Do you have Street Fighter?
Yeah.
What?
It's on mine.
Oh, well, I mean, you know, obviously Street Fighter 2 is like, that was the first game that just people were obsessed with Street Fighter 2. And even today, like, you go and you play a new Street Fighter game, and yes, they've changed things. They've added moves, added characters, added the meters.
They have.
Added combo, you know, like a combo system and all that, but it's all like Street Fighter 2 at its core.
Yeah.
And they're even bringing Street Fighter 2 back on the Nintendo Switch, and people are freaking out about it.
Yeah. I mean, we do tournaments here on Street Fighter 2, Street Fighter 2 Turbo, of course, being probably the more popular one.
Yeah.
To Ryu, man. Seriously.
Hadouken!
It'll be on mine. We'll talk about it a little bit more.
Okay.
My number 5 is Doom.
That's a good score.
Doom was the first-person shooter I've ever played, and I'm not a huge first-person guy, but I love the game. And if you've not played Doom, we really don't need to talk about it, I think, too much, because these games are on the list for a reason, I think, and people should already know about them. But check out Doom if you've never played it, or play Doom 2, which I think is just so much better. It's not as laggy, and it's not as pixelated either. Number 4?
My number 4, and yes, it's quite high up on my list. Maybe it should be lower, but I put the original Super Mario Brothers.
It's on my list also.
Obviously, you know, Nintendo came out with that one. It revived the video game industry. People have tried to copy it, but I feel like there's games that have had more direct influences on developers, where it's just basically, because I can't really think of a game where you're playing it and it feels exactly like Mario. Like, it's right. This is exactly Mario. Like, obviously games have come out and tried to be similar.
Right.
But just to straight up copy the way it controls, the power-ups and all that, nobody's really
I'm not going to talk about it because it is on my list, and I'll just talk about it when...
Okay.
Yeah. But heck yeah, it's... So both of yours have already been on mine, so that's pretty good. My number 4 is Grand Theft Auto 3. I think Grand Theft Auto 3 was the first time we really, really got to see like insane violence and storytelling, and just getting lost in a really big world. Man, I played that game for hours with my friends. So yeah, Grand Theft Auto 3.
That's
huge.
true. Like, that's kind of, as far as open world goes, that was kind of one
where
of the first.
I think it's where it really
first,
especially for 3D, like really kicking it off. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's crazy to think how long ago that was. But Grand Theft Auto 3, you can still play that game now, and it's fun.
That was a big deal when it came out.
Heck yeah, it was, dude.
My number 3, I had to go with one. So there have been a lot of first-person shooters that have been very influential, like Doom.
Yeah.
I could have picked a certain one on the N64 as well, but I went with Halo because I feel like Halo, obviously Call of Duty, Modern Warfare, very influential, but Halo kind of started it all with, as far as just how first-person shooters control today, they still control just like the original Halo. They use the twin sticks, they have melee, they have grenades.
Yeah.
It's all just kind of been based on that original Halo. Even Halo hasn't changed very much.
And especially the multiplayer
almost 20
and
years.
the maps and stuff like that. And just like, Halo's huge, man. I considered it. I was considering it.
Yeah, I mean, it was between Halo and Call of Duty.
And I'm not a Halo guy, but I was considering it. Respect, you know.
Got to.
My number 3, it was your number 5, the Street Fighter 2.
Okay.
To this day, if I play a fighting game that even comes into the store and say something a little like out there, like an SNK or a King of Fighters or something like that, You don't know any of the Fatal Fury. You don't know any of the moves. I'm going to try basic Street Fighter 2 moves. Exactly. And if they don't work, I'm going to try Guile's movesets, the holds and stuff like that. Because with like Mortal Kombat, it was more like back, forward, like forward, like hit and stuff like that. But with Street Fighter, it was more of the half circles and the charge base, which I feel like most fighting games have emulated Street Fighter 2. Mm-hmm. So that's why I think it's one of the most influential games of all time.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, and just super fun. Sick.
My number 2, and maybe this should have been a bit higher up the list.
I was having doubts.
Super Mario 64. So obviously, when Super Mario 64 came out, 3D platformers had never been done before. And it's been copied so many times. I mean, Banjo-Kazooie basically ripped it off. There were a bunch of games on PlayStation. Like Crash Bandicoot came out of Mario 64. Even though it wasn't... Tomb Raider, yeah. Games like Croc for the PlayStation and the Saturn.
Spyro.
I mean, Mario 64 for 3D platformers. That was like Nintendo just came out of the gate with it. They did it right the very first time, and that was like the bar that you had to try and reach.
I just wish 64 games didn't look so like shitty.
They look terrible
HD
now.
TVs.
Yeah, they look bad.
I heard that there's like some kind of like converter thing. I know Mike Matei did like a little video about like how you can make it look better on like a higher
just
definition
like
TV.
Upscale the resolution or something.
I guess so, but I know when I play it on like a 50-inch, it looks like
it doesn't look good.
Doesn't look good. My number 2 is also from the N64. I'm going with Zelda: Ocarina of Time.
Okay.
I think like it's hard not to say Mario 64 because that was first. It was definitely before Ocarina, but I think Ocarina just took it as far as control, story, length, puzzles. It just set the way, at least for that franchise, to kind of like the basis of like, this is the top. Mm-hmm. Try to beat it if you can. And I think it's came close, but I don't think there's been a Zelda game as good since Ocarina of Time, in my opinion.
Ooh.
It's my probably second favorite Zelda game, so I think I said that before. Maybe it's my third. I don't know.
Ouch.
It's around there. It's not Link to the Past, but it's pretty damn good.
Okay, yeah.
So, honorable mentions?
Honorable mentions. Well, I'm going to throw Mario Kart out there. It would have never made the list. It's influenced other kart racing games, Crash Team Racing.
I was thinking about
Sonic
it too.
And All Stars Racing and all that. Mario Kart's been big, but
it's one of the most nostalgic games too of all time.
Oh yeah. And then my other honorable mentions is Resident Evil 4. I mean, Resident Evil 4 is where Gears of War came from. It's where
the birth of really
Dead
good
Space came from.
Third person over the shoulder. Wow, why didn't I think of that?
I thought you might.
Damn.
And if you hadn't had me do honorable mentions, I wouldn't have even ever mentioned it.
That's a good one, man. I'm a little jealous. My 2 honorable mentions, in no particular order, is going to be 007.
Yeah.
Because I felt like Doom, to me, was like the first person shooter game that I played that I was really like addicted to. And then when 007 came out, it was just the 4-player, and then you had the campaign, and that kind of became like the basis for all these first-person shooters that you have, even before Halo, before Call of Duty. You have to have a good campaign with different difficulty levels and settings, make you come back and play it, but then have like a really solid multiplayer maps that you can just revisit, you can memorize, and then all the different things that you can do with it, with the DK mode, License to Kill, and I love the weapons, dude.
Variations.
Remote Mines is so, throwing knives only is so fun, but if you pick Odd Job, you're a bitch. And then my other one is, it could have easily made anyone's, I think, top 5. It almost made mine, is Pokemon Red and Blue.
Okay.
I think Pokemon Red and Blue is what really spiraled, like made sure that, because it's an RPG game. It's a role-playing game. And instead of you having your 3 or 4 base characters, you could have 150 freaking characters that you can upgrade for years. So your number 1. So.
Yeah, my number 1 was your number 2, Zelda: Ocarina of Time. I just don't feel like there has been a game that has been more directly copied than Ocarina of Time. I mean, Ocarina of Time, the influence is still out there today. The combat, the targeting system, the camera, the puzzles, endlessly copied by so many franchises, including Zelda. And I feel like I just played back through it because I beat Breath of the Wild, played back through Ocarina of Time, and I feel like it's not as good as it was back in the day when I played it, but as a Zelda game, I feel like it's the best rounded package. It's got awesome dungeons,
dude.
Great combat. That game holds up really well.
And the boss battles.
The bosses, and that was one of the
different. Each one, man.
Each one, yeah. And
freaking hand ones.
Yeah, Bongo.
Bongo.
Heck yeah, dude.
Oh, dude, it's so good. So fun. Man.
But even things like the day and night cycle.
Yeah.
People hadn't really seen that before in a video game.
And you really cared about the characters, too. Like, I felt bad whipping Epona.
Oh, no.
With the little carrots and stuff like that.
No.
Like, oh, man, I felt
Beat
bad.
the piss out of it.
And I'm like, what the shit, man? I'm sorry.
It's not like Breath of the Wild where it'll buck you off if you whip it too much.
Yeah, I don't care about those horses. My number 1, I think, was your number 4. Original. Super Mario Brothers.
Super Mario Brothers.
And I just think that it's the game that is the reason why all of this is here. And it is clearly a masterpiece. You can play it at any time. And control-wise, it's just fantastic. It feels so good jumping and moving in the air. And there's no really cheap deaths in Super Mario Brothers. It's just skill-based. And that is actually a pretty difficult game. Especially if you don't use the warp tunnels.
But you know what's funny about Super Mario, like all the Mario games, is when we got a hold of Mario Maker and we were able to make our own Mario levels, you realize exactly how hard it is for Nintendo to make all those levels. Like, they're so well designed.
So well designed.
And you'll sit there in a game like Mario Maker for 3 hours making a Mario level, and there's going to be little flaws to it, little shortcuts people can find.
Heck yeah.
Little spots here and there. But, back in the 80s, Nintendo made this Mario game that, to this day, you can go back and play it. It holds up. The controls are still perfect.
And it teaches you the progression
great.
of, like, you'll get to a block and you can't jump over this unless you're holding down B. Because you'll watch a kid who's never played a Nintendo pick up Mario, who's played all the new Mario games, but they'll go back to the first one, and they're holding the controller just like do-do-do-do-do-do, and they're just hitting A, and they're not doing the always holding down B and using, like, the middle back part of your thumb to jump. But I think both of our lists were pretty good. I knew that we don't tell each other, you guys, what our lists consist of.
There had to be a lot of double duplicates.
Let us know what your guys' most influential games are, or what you think the most influential games of all time. Sorry we didn't put stuff in there like Donkey Kong and Pac-Man and Asteroids. I would have put all those things on there if we had a little bit more, but again, I was kind of going based off of what I think, which really made me a gamer. And also, it's hard to do 5. It's hard to do 5. But game on, guys.
Thank you.